A gorgeous day, and we live in the most beautiful country in the world. So anyway, I thought I would, everybody was asking for a statement yesterday, and I'm kind of a slow writer, and I also like to be pretty precise in what I say, except when I'm getting mad at my kids. So I spent a lot of last night and a good chunk of this morning coming up with an official statement, and you are the first people to hear this. So I hope it helps express what you think, what you feel, and taps into your passion for this country and for freedom. When choosing a course of action, the rational approach is to review as much of the relevant information and trustworthy opinions you can, or think is necessary, before making your decision. Sometimes that information and opinion is abundant and reliable, making the process of deciding easier. Sometimes the information is scarce and the opinion suspect. But still, a course of action is, or at least seems, necessary. In my case, I feel I'm in between the two. However, I have made my choice. And what is my choice? To support a side of an argument which is being marginalized and censored concerning existential public protocol. That is, a public protocol both sides will, without question, dictate how we continue to live together as a society. It's kind of that simple. For that, it appears I am being marginalized on social media, or so I'm told because I don't go on social media, and in a certain way, censored by an institution I have followed and supported for 50 years and been publicly associated with for 20. As many of you may have heard by now, there are reports that Francesco Aquilini and the Vancouver Canucks, via Twitter, have severed ties with me over my decision to sing "O Canada" at the Freedom Rally today. As I do not use Twitter, I cannot personally confirm that this is true. Neither Mr. Aquilini nor the Canucks organization has contacted me directly before making their alleged public statements. Even though the mainstream media has gotten many things wrong regarding the catastrophic global reaction to the SARS-2 coronavirus, I'll assume the flurry of texts, emails, and phone calls asking for my comment indicate that it is in fact true. That the team I have been a fan of since their inception in 1970 and have sung with since 2001 no longer wishes for me to serve them or their fans. If this is not the case, then I ask Mr. Aquilini or someone from Canucks management to contact me to let me know. If they have contacted me, I have either missed the call or the email. Though my decision to sing at the Freedom event is not as complicated as dealing with a novel virus, it is reasoned and done out of love for my fellow Canadians. When it was discovered at the beginning of March this year that there was a new virus causing grave sickness and death, I was, as were virtually all Canadians, willing to do my part to suppress this potential devastation. We assumed that our elected officials were acting out of concern for their constituents and fellow citizens. We were seeking to flatten the curve so that hospitals and their staff would not be overwhelmed. I was thankful for Dr. Henry's action. Through an NDP MLA who I know and know quite well, I even offered my services if she thought they could be of some help. I received no response, but that was fine. They had more things to worry about than figuring out how to employ a singer during a medical emergency. But that was then. This is now. What was originally sold as a 15-day hunkering down sprint for the common good has turned into a 10-month marathon from hell, where the finish line is constantly being moved farther into the distance. There is no exit strategy. There is no defined rules of victory. As far as I know, there has been no overall cost-benefit analysis done on any of the protocol. A health official in the UK made a statement a couple of days ago that we now have to admit that there is no way of completely eradicating the SARS-2 coronavirus. Whoever thought there was? Every virus created over the course of nature is still here in some form. So we are told that even with an effective vaccine, our current protocols will still be necessary. And don't say, well, that's the UK, not Canada, not BC, not so fast. All these protocols are variations of each other. Politicians and public policy planners have the internet too. And all jurisdictions are discussing mandatory vaccinations. Now, there are courageous doctors and scientists, such as leading epidemiologist Dr. Sunendra Gupta of Oxford and John Ioannidis of Stanford, Nobel Prize winner Dr. Michael Levitt. There is a huge list, many top in their field, who call into question the current draconian protocols and are presenting and promoting more humane, reasonable, and to their expert opinion, more effective alternatives. Our province's own Dr. Stephen Malthus has published an open letter to our Chief Health Officer, Dr. Bonnie Henry, and calls into question all the protocols. I encourage you to read it. Dr. Malthus asserts that social distancing, face masks, restrictions and or closures of schools, businesses, churches, and support for special needs children is ineffective, unnecessary, and harmful. He points out the known unreliability of the godforsaken PCR test, which the developer even says is not suitable for determining COVID cases. And what about those cases? Before COVID, a case was someone who got sick, not simply having the virus. Now, every positive PCR test is a case, and if one person has multiple COVID tests that are positive, that's chalked up as multiple cases. Lastly, I'll point out that Dr. Malthus is aghast that the effectiveness of vitamin D for improving the immune system in resistance to the virus is not being vigorously and persistently promoted. Dr. L. Ray Matthews, a trauma surgeon and vitamin D researcher, is of the same opinion. These voices are being censored, marginalized, and being called crackpots by an ignorant and lazy media. They should be ashamed of their dereliction of duty as a free and responsible press. Sports figures, entertainers, politicians, etc. can stand up for anything as long as it supports the narrative. You can support rioting, looting, destruction of livelihoods and reputations, but take a position against the narrative and you are worthy of exile or worse. As someone known for singing our great national anthem, I am standing up against what I feel is tyranny, plain and simple. I would have hoped that the ownership and management of our home team would have had the courage to support the freedom to express a science-based position that is for the greater good of the country. They could learn something from what the boys showed us on the ice last spring. Go Canucks, go. I have a PS. Our current coronavirus protocols, like communism, have an intentional neglect of making the individual stronger. And like communism, the coronavirus protocols seem most effective in spreading misery equally. As always, God bless you. I guess I'm sort of a political figure now. Have to be on a write-in. Anyway, you guys all ready? And since I guess there's a good chance I'm no longer employed over at Rogers Arena, I'm going to use the old words. Here we go. Please remove your hats. Oh, Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love, in all thy sons' command, with glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true north, strong and free, from far and wide, O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Stand on guard for
We'll be hearing from Mark a little later today as well, so please be sure to stick around to the end. Mark has also got some of his CDs that are being sold over the side here, so if you'd like to support Mark, I think it'd be a great idea. That might very well have been